wanted to document a process I recently went through. Um, this is a web app that I recently built in React. The impetus for this was, um, you know, my 3-year-old granddaughter. I'm trying to encourage, to help her learn. And a lot of the online tools didn't have the baby steps functionality of composing letter sounds into words. And I wanted to make that more accessible, easily accessible to her, so she could try things out, play with different spellings, get things wrong, and
IPN,
and slowly figure out
PC,
how to
pick,
sound out words like here's pick, that's not right. Let's put the
pig,
pig, and it works.
cow,
Okay, and then you go to the next word. So I wanted for something like that, super accessible, kind of unbreakable, where she could
cow,
tap on this, and
cow,
this is the basic functionality, and I couldn't find this type of thing anywhere. So I said, well, I have Codeium, and I have some web tools that allow rapid application development. Let me take a crack at it. So I've been building apps in React for like a week and a half now. And I mean, I would say it's a good week and a half, a good strong week and a half. So I am not a React expert. This is not a React tutorial by a React expert. This is the newest of the newb in React, but using Codeium to build out a specification that for a specific application and so it's for my 3-year-old granddaughter, but I went ahead and put it online because I think it might be useful to other 3-year-olds. And we'll see how that goes, if anybody else uses it and that kind of thing. But at least, my theory is that application development, the hurdle to web application development is so low now that new people who haven't developed in React or whatever other tools can kind of spec out, like I did here, a um, operating, technical operation of how to put together an app and to build it out. I actually thought I could do this in several hours. It took me several days. Probably took me a whole week, and then or maybe a little less than a week, and then there was a little bit of touch-up work. And I guess there were some days where I didn't spend much. I only spent a couple hours on it. So um, but and so also this is also about new developers who are discouraged by AI. I really want to quash that idea, not quash it, but let's say address that idea, because what AI is going to do is it's going to open up development, all the development work that needs to be done. There's a lot. There's no end to the work that needs to be done. We are not going to run out of work that needs to be done. And this is going to broaden the area because people are going to build apps that interface with AI in specific domains and all kinds of things. Like, for instance, this thing could be further developed to have AI guidance on word pronunciation. This is something like right now, if I tap on a C, it doesn't give me the C sound. It doesn't give me the O sound. That's coming up, but there are some technical problems in the browser that make that a little difficult, which I think I can solve with some AI type of things. It says the whole word, but it doesn't sound out each character. And so there's a whole lot of learning tools and other types of tools that are waiting to be built. And so this is a little bit of an exploration of rapid application development using AI for specific tools. But it's also how quickly you can use AI to spin up a live website, because that's what I did in this. This is on a URL, and it's working, and it's also free. The URL is the domain cost $8.99, I believe, on Namecheap.com, but the hosting is on GitHub.io, and so this will include the deployment steps, and this is all live. It's public also. So the Git repo, I made the Git repo public, of course, which you have to do for Git static websites. So this is a React app built to a static website, and this one is public. You can look at the conversations that I had with Codeium, and you can look at the 76 commits that I have so far, and all the steps that are involved, and all the conversations that I was having, because I was saving the intermediate chats, and the chats are timed. You can see the conversation. So I just want to, because this also is for a new learner. This is a learner, someone learning English, and they are learning the mechanics of composition. So they, how to put words together, and how to play around, move it, refactor. What'd that say? Hip? It's, okay, it doesn't pronounce the word that I put here yet. Okay, now if I do that, it'll hi. Hip. That's so hip. So it's we can play around with these, refactor the word. We're composing this word and refactoring, and it's all baby steps. And so the building of this app is also baby steps. So it's all about learning, making that easier, and using AI tools like Codeium to help you make that easier and to produce a reproducible product. So it's, this is also trying to encourage new coders to develop new tools, and to don't believe the doom that there's no use for programmers anymore. They've been saying that for, I don't know, 40 years, the whole time I've been, because every time something comes out like no code tools or, automated, things that make coding easier, they always say, this will be the end of coders. Managers are just going to jump in there and code things up themselves. Well, the problem is what ends up happening, all the managers learn more about coding. That's what really ends up happening. The average manager today knows a lot more about coding today than they did 30 years ago or something when I started coding. But I have very little React experience. I have JavaScript experience, back-end other experience, but I'm pretty new to React, and it was a it was a steeper learning curve than I wanted it to be and than I expected it to be. It's, kind of pumped up as something you can very quickly spin up a highly interactive app. And, it took some significant work. And the whole time I was thinking, couldn't I have done this easier in plain vanilla JavaScript? But I would say there are some events that went on that made that. I mean, I should say event handling that made it much easier. So to use React, I think I might go back and check if plain vanilla JavaScript could build this quicker, but not now. So this is the first implementation. Everything's hard-coded. You can look in the thing here. Let's see, where was that? This is the description. Basically, this paragraph on line 11 is the main part of the description. And the first thing I asked Codeium to do was to create a software requirement specification for the Spell and Speak web app. And it did a pretty good job. And then I went in and edited this, and I put it into an app. I later created a diagram in Mermaid, and that was a flow chart. And so we want to speak to the Codeium in text, preferably, because it's the most portable knowledge content rather than images, diagrams. So my diagrams are in Mermaid, and it's really the text of the mermaid that is the meat of the diagram. Because it's a syntax, and Codeium and other AI tools understand the mermaid syntax. In fact, you can have it write you flowcharts or C4 diagrams or sequence diagrams, many other types of things to document this. And it's super helpful to use those because they're very editable, very easily editable. You don't have to open an app. You don't open, some visual editor of diagrams in order to edit a mermaid thing. You just move the lines of text around. Super superior to the other editing thing. And then also you'd have to take a screenshot and then give it to the AI. Non-optimal. What you want is text everywhere. So this is the first version of the website, and you can see it's very rudimentary. Everything is hard-coded, and I actually lost this. My intention here is I'm just going to review what I did so that you can kind of listen to this and maybe glance at the screen every once in a while. And this is just my review of the steps that I had to go through with Codeium, what helped me to get this built. And so you can kind of get an idea of the soft parts of Codeium, the hard parts, and the productive parts. And so it's kind of like you can listen to this in the background. I don't have this scripted, but if you want more videos like this, definitely leave a like or subscribe or a comment, anything like that, just to show like anybody cared. But I have some people making this so I can review it with a couple of people. And I'm going to design it or discuss it with them in mind as the audience. So it starts out very rudimentary. I lost what I was saying. I lost a chat because Codeium does still have some problems, and it'll drop a chat every once in a while. But it has a feature that where you can save the chat. Also, every time you like move away from the screen, it drops the chat you were in. So it has some little issues. Here's my latest ones. I was working on some Git stuff. And right here, export conversation. Do this anytime you're having a long conversation. Store the conversation in your wiki for the website or directly in the documents or chats folder for the website, and check it in. Because you might have a long conversation and it will lose it. So don't depend on Codeium as a durable database of your conversations. Do that yourself. Export them and commit them. I lost the original conversation where it just wrote all this for me. Again, I was not a React expert when I started this project at all. So I just had it write the stuff out. And so the experience is you don't know what you're doing in React, but the easiest way to learn it is by doing it. And I should be careful about that. So you can't do it without learning, without reading, like, it's doing a lot of explaining in here. And I kind of, highlighted this right here, that it explains things and it says, considering your previous adjustments you made. So it's thinking about what you did. You have to read these things, and you have to go watch other videos about React that explain what is going on in here. But you can't do any of those things by themselves. You have to build the app. And by hacking through the app, you're going to get a much better understanding of how React works, the pitfalls and the triumphs of React, of the React structure and ecosystem and framework and everything. You're not going to get that from just watching videos or just reading explanations or anything. So the role that Codeium plays is the React expert that you can ask any number of repetitious questions to. It's more patient than any real world human React expert. If I had run all these questions by a human React expert, they would have planned to murder me. Seriously, if I had their cell phone and stuff and I was able to get messages, if they didn't block me, they would have blocked me by the first 10 questions. They would have got sick of it. Codeium is available 24 hours on your schedule. So if you're doing something during the day and then you work late into the night, it's just incomparable to a human expert, but it satisfies the requirements of the human expert. One of the big things in coding is the rubber ducky. You just need someone to talk to about the code you're writing. You need to be able to talk about what the code is doing. That's as important as all the little bits of code that you put onto the page. You have to understand why it's doing it. And that, there is this explain button, and in the text, I can just hit this right here, and it's going to explain to me what the app is doing, the app function. And you have to read a bunch of these things. But the real thing is struggling through getting it to work. Have it write the code, take the shortcuts, but pay attention to what it's doing. One of the biggest hindrances to learning coding is stumbling blocks, or I should say roadblocks. Things that just trap you up where you're beating your head against the wall for a number of hours. And in code, and with code problems, it can go longer. It can be brutal. It could be overnight. If you have you could be awake in the morning trying to fix a problem that a customer is waiting on. Something like that. Those are worst case scenarios. The worst case scenario, basically. You never want that to happen. You spend a lot of time protecting against that by writing tests and by discussing the code with code experts. You can do that with Codeium. That's the best part of the tool. But have it to help you with shortcuts. If you're stuck somewhere, you don't know how to get started, have it start for you. And so this is where it started for me, just a very rudimentary, hard-coded React app. And then the app is up and running, and I can run it and start to play with things. So I just started adding colors and other things to it. And I can move forward. Let's see. It's not recognized. Okay. Okay, so I've found the function that I needed. Now I'm moving Git forward one commit, and we can see here that it helped me add, it's no longer hard-coded, and I have been able to add like move things, and they break, of course, because it's development, and you gotta they say move fast and break things. You're definitely doing that when you're doing app development. And so I guess what I wanted to show here is just that, not every little step, but that the Codeium will help you pick Codeium will help you pick standards. It'll help you, you have to ask it, but you say, how should I structure this? You tell it to remind you about React standards and other things in whatever environment you are developing in. So you have a conversation with it, and it's you kind of want to think of it like a distant programmer, a distant expert. But the benefit is, with a distant programmer, all other programmers who are distant, they know a narrow range of topics. So maybe they're a React expert and they know maybe databases or several other things, but they're not going to know everything you're working on and that you're building with. Codeium does, for the most part, unless you're doing something obscure. I mean, let's say it's got a much broader area of expertise than any other human programmer. And you'll see this when you start asking it. You flip from, I'm doing React, I'm doing SQL, I'm doing PowerShell, and now I got a question about Git. Now I have a question about Xterm JS, and different libraries, lots and lots of libraries. It can help you with that. Then it can help you with the Hugo static site and many of the things. There's not another programmer who can do that. There isn't, not anywhere. Even in like places like Stack Overflow, you're going to be going into different groups and stuff. You're going to be talking to different groups, and you're going to find like different attitudes in different groups, different levels of involvement. You might have to wait a long time in one environment, questions about one environment, and get super fast answers in another environment. With Codeium and other AI tools like this, it's all fast. It's all, a minute after you ask the question. It's got some kind of answer. Now, it will misguide you. It will say things that are non-optimal. So you just be prepared to ask a couple or three times from a couple different angles, and then you'll start getting a much better answer. So, if you could just rephrase a question, or you say, well, what about when considering this? For instance, in the earlier chat that I showed, it said, considering that you're building this using useReducer and the other improvements that you've made here, we should do it like this. So it's, Codeium at least has context keeping. And whatever AI tool you're using, you want to use one that understands the context. Copilot isn't as good at that. You have to repeat things a lot more often. That's non-optimal. You can work with it just by clipping, three different codes. You want to, if you get a response from the command line when you're trying to build, you get an error message. You want to clip that and say, I got this error. I changed this code, and you clip that code and you put it in there. That's a good habit with any of these AI tools. Point to the things that you think are affecting that are causing the problem or affecting the outcome that is a problem. Copy and paste those specific things, or if you can, better yet, use a command line grep tool or something to select the things out so you can show it in one batch. Here is the issues. Here are the code issues. And there's many examples of me doing that in the chats if anyone ever reviews them like I have. So we can, I can kind of step forward in this and just see updates getting done little by little, and the chat's getting updated. And I think here now I've got a word list, and this is a very rudimentary word list. These are the animals. I think later I change it to an animal list. But Copilot is helping me all the way along. Now, one issue that I will wrap up this discussion with is I got a long conversation going because it was really helping me. It was keeping the context of the updates that I was doing, and the Codeium chat became very long. What you want to do is break your chats into topics, because there is a context window. And so if you bounce back and forth a little bit by, I'm having a JavaScript problem in one, and I'm trying to make a list in another one, and I can't get the thing to vocalize in another. You want to do those in separate conversations. If you drop them into the same conversation, you're going to confuse the context. So that's something you don't want to do. But I did have a long context that was troubleshooting a problem, and it became very long. And one thing that I found is Codeium gets slower and slower as the conversation becomes longer. It will drop context for you in the conversation because it does have a max number of tokens that it can send to the GPT-4 or whatever you're using. But it is still reading the whole conversation and trying to, I think it's trying to parse it as you type characters in. So I don't know how they've built it currently, but it currently does it on every keystroke, so that there's some event that fires that's intercepted on every keystroke. And so when your chat becomes longer and longer, you'll actually have to wait like 15 seconds for a key to hit. And you might be able to, so you end up typing blind. You type in your prompt, and I was getting to the end of this solution for this troubleshooting problem, so I didn't want to explain it all in a new chat. So I would have to type out blind the whole prompt, near the end when it got really slow, and then hit enter and wait. And that's error prone because if you change windows, it'll put the rest of the sentence you're typing into the other window. So you have to wait in this window until the thing types out. And it could be like a minute, before the full thing gets typed out. Or it might hit the end. It might hit copy paste before it types a character. It does weird stuff like that. So you'll get things out of order. Anyway, don't do that. Keep your conversations focused and break them up and store them back them up in your thing here. And that is pretty much it. I will address anything else in a subsequent video.